So let's start. Come to lift and roll shoulders. And raise one arm. Stretch it up. Breathe out, go to the side. Just come back slightly, pulse it, and then just go over again. Breathe into the center. And lower your arm. And then breathe in, raising the other arm up. Breathe out as you go over, chin tucks in. Imagine you're between two panes of glass and just pulse in and out. Press your hand down to support you coming up and lower your hand. Circle your wrists up. Stretch up. Stretch your fingers. Look up if that's good for your neck. If not, look ahead. Breathing out, circle your wrists down. And again, as you circle your wrists up, you don't have to go right up, just to where it's comfortable. Hold the breath in, and then breathing out, circle your hands back down again. Lift and roll your shoulders. Step your feet slightly hip width apart and just gently sway from side to side. And then very gently come to the center. Lift and roll your shoulders. And we're going to start this mindfulness practice by lying on the ground. So come to being on the ground in Shavasana, so lying, legs out. I notice you're all down there before me. And then just extend one heel and the other heel. And then just again, extend one heel, you'll stretch one hip and then the other heel. And then still keeping the heels extended, raise your arms up above your head. You can clasp your hands together. So this is like doing a stretch upright, but we're on the ground, and you can just sway from side to side. And then lowering your hands, bend your left knee and hug your left knee into your chest. So this is a variation of a pose called Apanasta, and the Apana energy is your foundational energy. So if this is out, everything is out. While you're here, just circle your ankles a couple of times, your left ankle a couple of times in one direction, and circle your left ankle a couple of times in the other direction. And then stretch your toes of the left foot and just release and relax. And just stay here, hugging your knee into your chest for an in and out breath. Letting everything settle. So for anybody who has a back issue, this pose supports you at the base or all the way along the spine, really. So your spine really doesn't have to do very much. It can just begin to let go of its tight hold, keeping your skeleton upright, and release some of that tension. And then very gently place your left foot, you can support your left leg under the left thigh onto the floor and stretch out your left leg. Your hands can rest briefly on the floor or on your abdomen. Extend both heels. And then very gently bend your right leg and hug your right knee into your chest. So if you're right-handed, it's more, and you have a back issue, it's not always, but more likely that you'll have the issue on the right side. So hugging your knee into your chest stretches the back muscles, but without tensing them, because the ground is supporting your back. And point your feet, your right toes up to the ceiling and just slightly away from you a couple of times. And then circle your right ankle a couple of times in one direction. And then circle your ankle a couple of times in the other direction. You might notice as you're hugging your knee in towards your chest that your muscles relax and the hug can be a little bit more, but there's no pressure, just to where you feel comfortable. And throughout this, just notice your left leg. Have you let your left leg just relax and fall out? Your left heel, ideally, would be engaged. Doesn't matter if it's not, but it's just engaging the leg either side. And then gently supporting the right leg underneath your right thigh to place your right foot on the ground and stretch your right leg out alongside the mat. And once more, just extend and stretch the toes of both feet up to the ceiling and stretch them out, and then just release and relax. This time, bend both knees. Both feet are hip width apart, both knees are pointing up to the ceiling. And at any time in any of these yoga movements, you can always press your feet down onto the earth to slightly lift and adjust your back. And then once more, hug your left knee into your chest. And turn your left knee out towards the left as you place your left ankle on your right thigh. How much you want to give an angle to your left knee is up to you. The more you cross your legs over, the angle is less, so it's easier, but just experiment, up to you. And then rest your hands either on your abdomen or hands down alongside you. And just sway both knees from side to side. How much you sway is up to you. And you'll notice that you're accessing some acupressure points on the top of your bottom. So the more you roll over from side to side, you're lifting your hips off the ground to do that. The more you'll massage across your lower bottom. And then come to the centre. Support your left leg under the left thigh to lift your left foot off and place it back down on the ground. And then transfer your attention to your right knee, to hug your right knee into your chest. And opening your right knee out to the side, to the right, place your right ankle on the top of your left leg. And just then let your knee open to the side. So from a back point of view, just let your knees sway from side to side and your hands can be either resting on the abdomen or hands down beside you. From a back point of view, this opens a little muscle called the piriformis, which is on the outside of your hip linking to your leg. And this can get tight. So back problems can sometimes be tracked back to the piriformis, but not always. It can mimic sciatica or sciatica pain. And then just very gently support your right leg to hug your right knee into your chest once more and to place your right foot once more down onto the floor. Both knees are bent, feet are hip width apart. Just sway both knees from side to side. And we're going to then take our time to very gently roll onto one side. And we're going to come up to kneeling into a cat position, if that is suitable. If cat isn't suitable, then you've got two options. You can either stay where you are and do a pelvic tilt, or you can sit up and either sit cross-legged, or if that's not great for you, have your legs out and come to cat-cow in that position. But we're going to come to a cat, kneeling, and hands are shoulder width apart, knees are hip width apart. Your thumb and second index finger are pressed down, your fingers are spread, and the inside of your elbows are aimed towards one another to allocate or locate your top of your arm into your shoulder socket. Breathing in, dip your back and looking either up or along the mat. Breathing out, round your back. Your chin comes towards your chest. And repeat as you breathing in, dipping your back, and breathing out, round your back, chin to chest. And carry on a couple of times in your own time. So again, your spine is supported by your hands and your knees. And you're beginning to make a very gentle spinal movement. It's called a spinal wave. Just beginning to wake the body up. Letting the blood flow unimpeded along the spine from the tailbone right to the head, so all your organs are being fed. There's space as you carry on. Your lungs, your diaphragm moves and works properly. There's nothing squashing you. When you next come to round, your chin comes to your chest, tuck your toes underneath. Engage your lower abdomen towards your spine, about 10 or 20% of your capacity. That supports your lower back. Engage your perineum up, inside, fractionally. That again adds to that muscle support for your lower back. And then just slightly bring your bottom back towards your heels, away from your hands, lifting one knee and then the other, and pushing back into a soft dog. Do feel that you can make your feet wider and alter the position of your feet. When you make your feet wider and bend your knees, you're really softening the movement on your back, and then begin to straighten your legs to your capacity. Then just walk the dog a couple of times by swaying your hips from side to side, bending one knee and then bending the other knee. Again, the same principle applies. Don't let it all hang out. Tummy engages slightly, perineum does. Upwards, your arms, the elbows are inside one another. And then walk your feet to your hands to your feet. And then very gently come forward still. Just bend your knees, hold your elbows, and take an in and an out breath here. And then you can either drop your hands and roll up, or use your hands against your body to roll up one vertebra at a time. And just lift and roll your shoulders. And then step out. And I don't mind which side, but I'm going to suggest turning your left foot in to about 45 degrees. The right foot goes out, and you can move your right foot slightly out to the right if you need to for support. Place your hands on your waist. This opens you at the shoulder level. And then just soften and bend your front right knee, dropping your weight centrally, so you're not putting weight too much on your front leg. Adjust your feet if you need to. Your right knee doesn't come in. It's just almost place your hand there to stop that coming in. And then raise your hands up and look to beyond the third finger of your front right hand. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. And if you press your feet into the ground, you're activating your left outer heels as it's not rolling up or off the ground. you'll find yourself grounding and lifting from the chest bone. And then breathing out, lower your arms, straighten your legs. Come to square your feet off. And then turn your right foot in, your left foot out. Rest your hands on your waist. This opens your lungs and opens your chest. Soften your front left leg by dropping your weight centrally. And try and keep the weight on your back outside right heel. I know that's a lot of instruction. Breathing in, raise your arms up to warrior and turn your head to look beyond the third finger of your front left hand. Drop your shoulders away and yeah, that's very nice. I'm just going to just not touch it, but just up and just again, just fractionally up. That's lovely. And then just lower your hands back down alongside and just bring your feet to center and then just heel toe your feet in a little bit to hip width apart and just gently sway from side to side. And then just come to the center, lift and roll your shoulders. And then this time raise one arm. I'm going to raise my right arm. Really secure your body by holding your left thigh and tummy in, lower abdomen in, perineum engages. Just slightly, again as we did, just come over. You can pulse if you want to, chin in. You can look to the ground or look straight ahead. I suggest that looking up is quite tough on the neck, so we'll just keep to the lower movement. And then coming up, stretch your arm up and breathing out, lower your hand back down to your side. And then the other arm comes up, stretching up, tummy in, perineum engages. Use your hand and then come bounce. It's called dynamic movement. Just bounce in and out, stretching along the lateral side, you're opening up your immune system, coming up and then lowering your hands and lift and roll your shoulders. And then reverse your hands up and feel if you want to adjust your feet a little bit closer together because we're going to lift our heels, but adjust where you're comfortable, lifting your heels up. It's a balance. So in a balance, your left and your right brain hemispheres have to communicate with one another and come out when you need to by lowering your heels and lowering your hands and lifting and rolling your shoulders. And you can try that again, just put your hands on your waist and see if that's easier to just then lift your heels, or whether you prefer to have your hands up above you. And then when you're ready, breathe out and then lower your heels and back down to the ground and release your arms. And then just lift and roll your shoulders. So in this mindfulness practice, we're going to come to the ground and come to lying on our tummies. And for those of you who don't like that, the plus point of lying on your tummy is that you lose weight because you're squishing your fat levels. And it's, again, giving a sort of massage of the rolling at the front. So there is an advantage to everything, I suppose, a silver lining to every cloud, if you're not that keen. I'm just going to suggest come to Sphinx. So lying on your tummy, you're slightly up, your elbows on your elbows, and you're looking downwards along the floor, so that the back of your neck is long. And just bounce the backs of your feet on the ground. So I'm sure Sue here will tell me that this reflexology activates the lymph system, is that right?
Yeah, the lymph system below the toes.
So even here, that's quite nice. And then just slide your elbows out, put one hand on top of the other. You can make a fist if that's helpful. To rest your forehead on your hands, however you want to do that. Have your knees slightly wider apart, and then bend your at the knees, so the soles of the feet are to the ceiling,
Just adjust your knees to how you want them, and then just sway your feet
from side to side so that this comes to a windscreen screen wiper.
movement. It's very releasing for the lower back. It's quite releasing for the hips at the front, strangely enough. And you can just let the legs go from side to side, make it more exaggerated, or just keep to a gentle movement. And then very gently release your feet back to the ground. And you might feel you want to bring your knees into one another, towards one another a little bit more. And slide your hands out from underneath you. Bring them to palms down, elbows are up, almost by your chest. And press your hands down to lift you up onto your knees and come back to your form of child. Now, I do appreciate that knee issues, this might not be great. So you can come to child, or you can sort of kneel up and come almost to a half child. Just adopt a forward bend according to what suits you. So full child would be this, hands up, or you can stretch your hands in front of you. As I said, I do appreciate knee issues. You might want to lift your bottom up so that the pressure is away from coming back onto your knees. So any forward bend is calming for the nervous system. And take a breath or two in and out here. And then slide your hands back to kneel up. And we're going to come to a seated position. And bring the soles of your feet together. So this is in Sanskrit called Baddha Konasana, and Baddha is band and Konasana is an angle. So it's band angle pose. And just take your thumbs and go to massage your instep all the way around your feet. So it should feel quite soothing, and just linger where you feel that you might like to massage a little bit more. You're also opening, while you're doing this, your inner groin, your hip area, so that's again connected to your immune system on the your lower lymph system. And you do need to move your lymph. It's not something that moves itself. So your lymph, of course, is connected to your immune system. And you can massage the tops of your feet if you want to. You can sit up and hold your ankles, and that will straighten your back, but also open you out at the lower hip a little bit more. You can bounce your knees. So the ancients used to believe that bouncing the knees released trapped energy at the lower spinal level. And then just supporting your legs underneath the thighs to lift up, but not too much, because we're going to spread the legs outwards into a V. And just lift the flesh out from underneath you. And then slide your hands down your legs as much as you want to. You can stop at your shins, you can carry on. You can hold the outsides of your feet, you can hold your big toes with your second and third finger, whatever you feel that you want to relax and rest. You'll feel a stretch on the inside of your leg, particularly if you extend your heels. And this is stretching a muscle called the psoas muscle, which runs alongside the inside of your leg. It's a muscle that we can often not switch on, so when we walk or stand, we're not fully supported because some of us tend not to engage that muscle. But it's also a muscle concerned with an emotional aspect of fear. So it's always quite good to stretch that muscle, and this is a very gentle way to stretch it. Coming forward, of course, is releasing and relaxing for the nervous system. And your back is slightly rounded, and so your adrenal glands sitting on top of your kidneys have space, and the breath is encouraged into your back.
So again, it's all the way around, it's quite a relieving, releasing pose. And then sliding up. Turn toward your outstretched left leg and just slide down once more. Keep both bottom cheeks on the ground if you can. So you're just coming over into a slight rotation, which will stretch. If you're coming to the left, you'll feel the stretch along your right side of your back. So stretching those back muscles out. But again, how much you choose to come down is up to you. And take an in and an out breath. And then walk your hands up slightly, hands either side, to come over to your right side. Your heels are extended to engage that psoas muscle, and then coming over to the other side. Again, calming for the nervous system. And out. And then very gently sliding your hands up and coming to a cross-legged position. If cross-legged is not good for you, then just come with your feet straight out. And hands either side of you. Just lengthen your body. And I'm going to take my left hand across my body to my right thigh. If you want to go the other way, that's fine. My right hand's behind. Lengthen the body as you breathe in. Shoulder away from your ear, and breathe out, turn. Your head is the last thing to turn. Press your hand down, lengthen, and breathing out, turn. So this is activating the energy called samana energy at the navel area. It's part of your digestive system. When you're comfortable, just stay here for an in and an out breath. Come back to the centre. Just hold your knees as you nod forward, just compensating fractionally that rotation that you've made. And then sitting up, and this time my right hand is going to go across my body, but whichever way you went. Cross your hand over, the other hand comes behind. Press your hand, your fingers down to lengthen your spine, and then turn slightly. Press your hand down as you lengthen, and then breathing out, turn. And stay here for an in and an out breath. And then come back to the centre. Just hands on both knees, just to nod slightly forward. If you prefer to bring your hands in front of you and walk forward, that's fine too. Whichever you feel more comfortable doing. So this again compensates a little bit for the movement that we've made. And then walk the hands back as you stretch both legs out in front of you. Hands classically are on the floor, fingers pointing forward. If that's not great, then it's therapy, so just bring your hands to where you're comfortable. Press your hands down, lift your chest, you move your hands to where you're comfortable, and look up only if that's good for your neck. So the eyes upwards disconnects the eyes from the stress centres of the brain. Hard to maintain stress when you're like this, and this eye movement is part of the post-traumatic stress training that they're doing in the States and offering to trauma victims. And also lifting the chest is very uplifting for one's mood and antidepressant. If that's too much for your neck, then just bring your chin not quite so up. And the neck should always be moved with caution and control. And then bring your head gently forward. And then we're going to come to lie on the mat, hugging knees into the chest. So knees are, yes, hugging into the chest. And hug both knees into the chest. Still hold the knees, both knees move away. So we're coming back to the energy where we started. Carry on hugging your knees into the chest. And then just holding the knees still, let them move away to arm's length. And carry on hugging the knees into the chest. And just let them travel away. So you'll note that you're massaging up and down your spine at the lower level as we carry on. And you might also note that this becomes a breathwork exercise, because as well we've throughout the practice, we've coordinated generally our movement to our breath. But while you're relaxing on the floor, it's quite easy to just note that the breath moves with the movement, which has a direct effect on the nervous system. And as you calm down and your nervous system starts to calm down, which it should have been throughout this practice, your brain waves start to calm down and move from their normal operating practice into a slower rhythm. And it's when they dip slightly, the brain waves, ironically, that we have a greater option for creativity. Because our minds are busy stressing, it blocks any creativity, because our mind has only got a certain capacity and it's tied up with worrying about stuff. But when it's free from that worry, the sparks of creativity can flourish. And then very gently place your feet on the ground, supporting you under the thighs. And you can either stay here with your knees bent, maybe your knees touching with your feet out a little bit, or come to actually lying on the ground in Shavasana. Either way, what you're doing is to let the movements that we've done throughout the practice reabsorb back into the body. So you actually benefit from the movement that we've been doing. Make any adjustments that you need to. And then physically just crunch your toes or just tense your toes and release and relax. And then tense your knees and release and relax. Tense your bottom and release and relax. Physically lift your chest up away from you, away from the mat, and then physically and consciously release back down onto the mat. Tense your wrists and fists, your arms, and just release and relax them back down again. And then very gently raise your shoulders up towards your ears. And just consciously, as consciously, raise your shoulders and place them down away from your ears. And now very gently turn your head from one side to the centre and turn to the other side and come back to the centre. And take a moment to have a thought for the day, for yourself or for anybody, wishing them well, wishing them happiness, wishing them something. It can be quite simple. And in Sanskrit it's called a sankalpa, but it is just a wish for the day, a nice wish card. And then finally, choose a colour today and just wrap yourself like cotton wool in your colour. So you're supported like candy floss in your colour, and only positive thoughts can exist in this candy floss. Nothing negative can get in, only positive thoughts. And you can stay where you are, relaxing on the mat, or wherever you happen to be. But if you want to join me to finish the class, then you can gently begin to move your fingers and toes. And then perhaps hug your knees into your chest to gently rock from side to side. And take your time. You can roll onto your right side and extend your right arm up above you if you like, and stay here for a second, or you can just rock up. and then roll till you're right properly. And really take your time because your blood needs to adjust to get from lying up to your head. And that's quite a lot of the effort that the body's having to go through to make that adjustment to come from lying up to a seated position. So stay wherever you are, or join me, or don't join me, and then just bring mentally, or actually it doesn't matter, your hands to your heart as you bring your chin to your chest. To have a lovely day ahead, and thank you for joining me today.